Hi, everybody. It's me. How are you? And today is July 31st, 2022. Make sure that my microphone is on. Yes, we don't have all the bells and whistles today, but that's okay, right? I am going to be talking about a couple of different things today. First of all, let me just say I wanted to start today's video off by saying, hi, I'm Jules of Thought. I'm a housewife here with just too much makeup on. The colorful PI guy said that there are two um, groups of people that do true crime on YouTube, and that is detectives and police officers and people that with real law enforcement experience, and then there's housewives that put on too much makeup, bored housewives with too much makeup. So according to the world, for Jim Terry, colorful PI guy, I would be a part of the last group. I don't know how bored I am, but I am a housewife and I do wear makeup. I also have been certified as an expert witness for the court. Um, I do evaluations, and so I'm sort of maybe I'm in that gray area between detective and bored housewife. Maybe colorful PI guy. There's a lot of things in between those two. I can just right off the top of my head, I can think about all different sorts of people that creators that are on YouTube that like to that basically talk about true crime, their particular area of expertise, um, and why we do what we do. I mean, a lot of us just are interested in human behavior, and people are interesting why they do what they do. But I'm just pondering to myself, which group would Mr. Jim Terry fit into? Would he be in the bored, lonely housewife group? Or would he be in the law enforcement experience group? Hmm. I don't know where he would fit in, but he is a great football player. That is beyond contestation. All right. So don't not giving him a hard time, trying to make it a little bit lighthearted. He does have a way of saying things that seem to make females cringe. I don't know if he likes it that way. I don't know if he doesn't. Perhaps he doesn't have the insight. Maybe he's not thinking about that. Um, he may affect people that way. I don't know. Now, in all seriousness, too, even though I find myself cringing sometimes, I do listen to him. And I do think that he very early on he identified a group of people that ultimately are important in this story about Dylan Rounds, correct? I mean, he very early came up with the name Kurt Wadsworth and Chase Venstra. And of course, Jim Brenner, we knew Jim Brenner was a part of that because Jim Brenner is one of the few who actually had a direct relationship with Dylan Rounds that the family knew about. So I don't want to be. I'm not saying that colorful PI guy that he's a scam artist or that he does. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that it's a shame. I wish that he could. I wish that he could develop a public persona that he recognizes that there are females do have utility that goes beyond the kitchen. You know what I mean, Mr. Kelly? Oh, it's not Kelly, is it? It's Terry. You know what I'm talking about? You, those women that you're disparaging so frequently, one has to question why. What, have you ever been friends with a female? I mean, is it always just, I don't know, seems odd. Just way a lot of hate that gets thrown in that, into the female side of the picture. So no, he definitely came up with some names early on that were quite important, and that kind of thing. Let's see. Let me say hello to people in the chat. So, hi, Cinnamon, hot, hot, hot. Hey, Shalimar. It seems like we were just here, right? Housewives of Chromatube. That's us, Housewives of Chromatube. And Muffin Top, welcome. Let's see. Charlie Faith, welcome back. We were just here. I'm certain of it. Hi, Sandy Hill. When did you change your name? Couldn't find you. I think I've changed my name approximately a week ago. It may have been, we may be going on 2 weeks, but for sure at least 1 week, 10 days. Why? Why did I change my name? Well, I'll tell you why. I've wanted to change it for some time. And the reason that I wanted to change it is because the name Jewels of Thought doesn't match true crime, right? But it's a long story how that whole name Jewels of Thought came into being. It's actually the name of an album, a music, Middle Eastern group. And I listened to that music when I lived in Egypt. I took belly dancing classes, and part of that, you develop an appreciation for that. The musicians from that area of the world. And so I was listening to that album when I said to myself, originally my YouTube name was in my name, like my real life name, that I've now been doxxed, by my number one fan. And so I didn't want to make I wanted to make a comment. I wanted to make a video where I was making a comment on Chris Watts. And I didn't want it to be under my real name, obviously, but I did want to make a comment to say, hey, guys, this is victim blaming and victim shaming on a level I've never witnessed before at all. Even as a professional, never seen anything like that. And you got to remember that because her family and her friends experienced terrible trauma, that they would be online looking everywhere for the slightest morsel of information that they could find that might shed light on what happened. And that rather than finding good, evidence, they were finding these weird hate videos. Now, I was naive at the time. I believed that the majority of people were intelligent, empathetic, normal people. I found out quickly that wasn't necessarily true where the true crime genre was concerned. But nevertheless, I did think I might be helping a little. It didn't help. But what it did do is I had a lot of people that sent me messages or commented underneath the video, and they really liked my commentary. And I thought, wow, well, this is new. This is not anything I've ever thought about before. And those of you that were around during that day, those were our Smurf days. You remember the Smurf days? So the Smurf days, I looked like a Smurf. I was blue because of the lighting, and I didn't want anybody to know who I was. And so it was pretty weird. I've since tried to delete all of those videos. But anyway, so then I thought, what the hell? I'll make a channel. And here I am all this time later. The Jewels of Thought stayed. It was just put up there because that was the album, that I was listening to. And it was just kind of quick thought, well, what am I going to put as my name? It stuck. And the truth is, it has zero to do with true crime. And so I've been thinking about how do I change the name of the channel? It's going to disrupt views. It's going to have a big impact. Well, a couple of weeks ago, I considered ending my channel And so I had set all of my videos to private. And as I was contemplating whether I was going to actually completely just quit and kill the whole channel, I ultimately, after talking with friends and family members, I decided no, I've got a responsibility to the people that have been in this channel for a long time. We're friends, it's a community, and it was more important than the reason that I was considering leaving. And so I changed my mind and I said, okay, I'm done having my, moment of frustration. And so I've set things back to public, and that disrupted views anyway. And so I thought, you know what? I've already done the damage. I've got to build back anyway. Now is a really, really great time to change the name of the channel. What do they tell you? When someone hands you lemons, what are you supposed to do? You're supposed to make lemonade, right? So just curious. The new channel name is Allegedly Innocent. What do you guys think? Hey, Robert Chinnery, welcome. It's good to see you. Thank you so much. Tell me if you like the new name, Allegedly Innocent, which sort of, it's tongue in cheek for that idea that you're innocent till proven guilty. And that is not really the way that it is treated here on the social media true crime community. We pick people and then we think, oh, they're definitely guilty. And then we set about, trying to prove they're guilty. And sometimes that can really hurt innocent people. And so I liked there was a time that I too felt allegedly innocent, that people just came out and said, yes, Jules is automatically guilty of whatever the accusation was. It's very difficult if you are innocent of an accused problem. It's very difficult to prove your innocence. How do you prove something? Where's the proof of innocence? You can't come by that. You can prove you didn't do something. It's very hard, to prove your innocence. So if you like the new name, put a 1. If you want me to go back to Jules of Thought, put a 2. I'm just curious, because we do primarily do true crime here. Occasionally we do other kind of public, information, public interest stories, but usually it's a true crime thing. So Mary says, no, go back to Jules of Thought. I figure I'll always be Jules of Thought. I am getting together a psychology channel that will be pure psychology. Those of you that don't know, I am a professional psychologist in my real world. The stuff I do here on YouTube, on this channel, it's just fun. It's not, my life. But I am going to go ahead and do the psychology channel. That will be under Jules of Thought. And so I'm keeping the Jules of Thought banner. I'm still going to have Jules of Thought merchandise, but the true crime channels will be Allegedly Innocent under the Jules of Thought banner. So that's how it's going to go. Hi, Sandy Hill. Welcome. Jules is my name. That's what they call me, Sandy. All right. As some people call me other things, it's not very polite. I know they shouldn't do that. It's not very nice. Okay. So what do I want to talk about today? I am going to be covering a little bit of the Alex Jones defamation case. He has been found guilty. They are now in the penalty phase. And you know what? I lost 20 subscribers because they didn't like that I was covering Alex Jones. I respect that. I totally respect it. He is not a likable guy. He's done some crazy, crazy things. I'm with you on that. I'm not covering him because I like him. I'm not covering it because I'm trying to say somehow he's a victim. None of the above. The reason that I'm covering it is this. He was found guilty. And the result, I believe, will be that because of the Alex Jones case, I believe it's going to set precedents depending on the amount of the penalty, the amount of money that's paid and whatnot. I really think it's going to have an effect on how YouTube creator or social media creators, how social media creators do their content. I think it's going to be. I think it's going to have a little bit of a chilling effect on the steps that people will be willing to take when it comes to the whole true crime thing. We've got to be careful. You know, I mean, that's the best way that I can say it, is that we have to be careful. If people are not charged with a crime by a law enforcement organization, you are running a serious risk for defamation. Serious risk. There needs to be, in order, if it's my belief, in order for me personally to bring up a case online and discuss an individual, there has to at least be an arrest. You know what I mean? If the cops haven't found a reason to arrest someone, then it's certainly not my job to try to say that someone is guilty of something. If I feel like they may be involved, then it's a certainty that the cops are also investigating that. So I do think that what's going on with the Alex Jones case, I do think that it's going to send a fairly loud message to true crime people to, be careful what you put out there. It's not going to be a big enough excuse to say, hey, I was handed a story. I didn't really read it. I assumed that the original source had done their due diligence and I was wrong. And so, that's not going to stand up anymore. We have to be careful. We have to be responsible with what we're doing. All right. So a little bit of that. Most of what I'm going to talk about today is going to be Dylan Rounds, not him specifically, but I want to talk about Montello, the town, right? We're all watching the Dylan Rounds stuff. We've all seen, hey, Amanda, welcome. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. Appreciate it so much. We're all watching the Dylan Rounds content. We all have seen the colorful PI guy, Candice Cooley, their argument with one another, the disagreement. We've seen all the drama. We've seen all that's sort of unfolded. We've got Kurt Wadsworth out there. He's done multiple interviews. I think the parents of J.D. Wild did some interviews. And so J.D. Wild is Dylan Rounds' best friend from high school. So I want to, there was this colorful PI guy has pointed his finger at Montello, Utah, to say this is a really bad place. This is a dangerous place to be. There's 170 people there, and 83 of them are registered sex offenders. Isn't that what he said? So I thought, oh, that's bad, right? I mean, that's really crazy. And I think one of the things that colorful PI guy has said multiple times is, why did Dylan Rounds' family think that it was appropriate to take a 17, 18-year-old kid who had not graduated high school, he did not have a GED, why did they think it was appropriate to put him out there basically in the never, never, like from Australia, the never, never land? Why did they think that it was appropriate to put him out there? No satellite phone, really no utilities to speak of. Did they think he was safe? Because it's got all this crime and all these terrible things happening. And so I got to thinking about that. And I thought, well, let me just look at this and, see what he's talking about. Maybe it is this awful, terrible, scary place. So Montello, Lawson, which is, where his 600 acres is located. Lawson's about 25 minutes from Montello. Montello, really, for all intent purposes, it's pretty much been agreed that that's really where Dylan was spending the night. That's where he was living. Lawson's a ghost town. It does have an airport, which is weird, and it's actually called an international airport. But it's got an airport that is run by this Czechoslovakian runaway who escaped from behind the Iron Curtain through, under cover of dead of night, who had connections that sent him to California, and he set up a business. And then ultimately, the guy ends up out on this international airport where he lives with a blow-up doll and a big giant television and many machine guns for the Badgers. Okay. So you got this guy out there. And then there's Jim Brenner, who is sort of a caretaker for land for a guy from Colorado who owns a bunch of land out there. And then Dylan's grandfather, who is a well-accepted guy from the Mormon church in Salt Lake City. Then they buy Dylan this 600-acre ranch that he was trying to turn into a farm or scrub brush. It's just sort of throwaway land. There's not very much water. You have to attain water rights. If you're lucky enough to purchase land with water rights, then you inherit it. Otherwise, you have to try to petition it, and it's a big fight, and it's a big problem. So all of this is going on in this area. It's called Box Elder County. Dillon is approximately 25 minutes away from Montello. Montello is the first real town. That's the nearest real town to Lawson, the ghost town, where there's nothing there except for Dillon. He's kind of the only resident. He and the Czechoslovakian. They're really kind of the only real true residents. There are a lot of squatters out there. There are a lot of people supposedly involved in the meth trade. So there's some shady people out there. The birds are being loud. I'm sorry. Now then, so at the time that Dillon goes missing, he is 19 years old. Today is his 20th birthday, is my understanding. That's the reason for the sunflowers, because Dillon loved sunflowers. He used to grow them, the big giant sunflowers. So he's 19 years old when he goes missing. It's been a couple of months since he went missing, back in June. And apparently he had been out there a little more than a year. So he was about 17, maybe 18, when he actually located the land, and his grandfather made the arrangements to purchase the land. So he's a young kid. He's 17 years old. This also coincides with school that is not traditional school. And the reason it's not traditional school is because COVID had shut everything down. So you've got this young man who is not really the greatest student. He's not a bad student, but he's not the greatest student. And I found an article. Let's see what, not the right one. Hold on. I got a lot of things I'm putting up today. Okay. So Dillon attended Rigby High School. He was a member of the Rigby High School Future Farmers of America chapter. And they went to the Nationals for FFA Nationals on March the 13th. I believe this is where's my date? 2020. So this article was published on April the 1st, 2020, 2 years ago. Dillon was a member of FFA, and they met in Meridian to receive their FFA award, and the national chapter implemented the mission strategy of the organization. They chose 10% of the chapters to send for the national consideration. These chapters improve chapter operations using the National Quality Chapter Standards and a program of activities that emphasize growing leaders, building communities, and strengthening agriculture. A few activities highlighted this application, which included the 4th annual Weld-Off Chapter Service Project, FFA Play Day, and the Rigby Stampede Days. And then there was the Grand Marshal for the 80th Rigby Stampede Days. During this recognition, there were proficiency awards that were given for local, state, and national levels of recognition to FFA members that were established in or that were exploring or established in taking agricultural career pathway for school and after school. They named state champions for the Rigby FFA chapter, and they were Dylan Rounds. He's a state champion in FFA. Dylan Rounds, J.D. Wild, Aspen Lees, Landon Smith, Luke Smith, Logan Thornley, and Brigham Nelson. So there's 17 members in the Rigby FFA. And so Dylan Rounds and his best friend, J.D. Wild, they did stand out, right? They were state champions, and they had an established plan to pursue agriculture as a profession. Hold on. Let me make sure I don't miss anything in this article. So they went in. All right. So for the people that have sort of been saying, well, why did the grandparents send Dylan out to this farm? He didn't know. He's a kid. He doesn't know how to farm. He's never done it before. I've heard people actually say that on some of their channels where they're covering this missing persons case. No, he did, in fact, know what he was doing. Not only, let's see where my article is. Hold on. I thought it was this one, but it's not. I mean, look. Not only, yeah, here it is right here. Okay. So not only was Dylan obviously educated in agriculture and farming, but his family dynamics were farming. Here's a photograph of him as a kid, a little kid. He's running the tractor. He's the one that's running the tractor. So I'm struggling with this idea of why are we still at this point, months, weeks down the road, why are we still somehow trying to say that his parents or his grandparents somehow did something wrong that resulted in his disappearance? I think it now. I'm going to tell you this. Would I take my kid and put them in this particular situation? No. It wouldn't matter. It wouldn't matter if he was or she was absolutely well versed in what it was that they were trying to accomplish, what they were trying to do. One of the first things I would have done that would have been a bit different is I would have made sure that he had a house that was at least safe, stable, where he could lock himself in and be safe, where there was a working air conditioner because the temperatures were quite high, and certainly that there was water, right? So that's first thing. I don't think I would have put him in just a little small camper that would not have given real safety. So that's my first thing. We don't know, let me say this, we don't know what the plan was. We don't know how they had it laid out. We don't know if the campers were out, the camper was out there for him to make use of during the day when he's out there working, that he has a place to get in from the sun. He has a place where he can keep cold drinks and sandwich meat, you know. And then the plan was is that he would go into Montello for showers, and we don't really know what the arrangement was. And I'm going to say this, because of this negative relationship that was soon established with the family members, they stopped talking. They hate us on YouTube. They dislike the YouTube creators a great deal. And so we really are not in a position to ask, you know, what was the original plan? How is he going to eat? How is he going to get his baths? What was the plan? There had to have been a plan. This is not a dumb group of people. It's an intelligent family. They're successful. They know what they're doing. I don't believe, not for a minute, they just dropped him out there and said, sink or swim, kid. I just have a hard time believing that. I would have also made sure, especially in this day and age, I would have made sure he had a satellite phone or one of those, you know, how you have the hiking things that connect to a satellite so that if you go missing in the back country, your people can find you, or the searchers, rescuers can find you. So I think there would have been some way to sort of keep up. I think there should have been an established phone connect, you know, to reach out to one another so that you're in contact daily, kind of thing. But nevertheless, that was my first thing, is that no, don't say that they put him out there when he was 17. He didn't know anything about farming. Don't say that. That's not true. There is, in fact, evidence online that does seem to reflect that not only did he have working knowledge of ag and farming in that, you know, dry Utah desert area, but that Dylan was actually a state champion, that he was recognized among all of his peers. And so he was excelling. This was something that was important. And we've got the photograph of him on the family farm equipment when he was much younger. And so, you know, it is there. It is what it is. All right. And so they're pushing the sunflowers today in recognition of his birthday. I think I had another. We'll let that picture. Yeah. Sow a seed for Dylan. And that has this little poem that if someone throws dirt at you, you know, don't react negatively, but look at that as a way to grow, as like a seed would grow in the ground. So, so that is, you know, recognition for Dylan. All right. Now then. So I wanted to look at Montello, but because of this idea of it, that it's it's a horrible, terrible place, bad people there, bad things there, bad. So I wanted to look at Montello and see, you know, what we were actually talking about. So Montello, and I am getting this from, yes, Jim Terry. I am a housewife with makeup, and I am, in fact, reading Wikipedia on Montello, Nevada. Full disclosure. Okay. Montello is a census designated place, so it is not the middle of nowhere. It's in Elk County. It's home to the Montello Elementary School. It has a population, the population of Montello was 50 as of 2018 American Community Survey. 2 small bars and a market or motel selling fuel and sundries comprise the business district. Various cattle ranching operations. Montello is part of the Elko Metropolitan Statistical Area. Then it goes on, it tells the history. First permanent settlement in 1869, blah, blah, blah. And then it reached its peak in the 1920s. And then February 2017, the town was flooded after a very wet winter. And the 21-mile earthen dam did not contribute to the Montello flooding, as some people wanted to say. And Montello is located in eastern Elko along Route 233. It's 23 miles northeast of Interstate 80 at the Oasis and 18 kilometers southwest of the Utah border. Elko is the county seat. Now then, if I look, and I'm going to share this page with you guys. Let me take down Dylan here. And I'm going to share. All right, I'm going to share this page. There. Now, this is citydata.com and I looked up Montello. And I wanted to look at sex offenders because we've been told that there was 170 people and 83 are registered sex offenders, correct? So these are the sex offenders. It's like 6 or 7. This is showing 5 of them. But when you look up on the sheriff's department, there's 7 of them showing up. And they are Larry Edwards, he's a level 3, born in 1977. And in the same apartment complex is William Emlyn, who was born in 1950. So he's a really old guy. And then in the same apartment complex is Frank Fowler, level 2, and he was born in 1967. And he weighs 330 pounds. So it's pretty easy to see when he's coming. Then you've got these 2 guys that live out away from town. This is Robert Schottenkirk. He was born in 1974. That makes him about 50 or so, I guess. And this Stephen Lee Smith, 1961, and he is a level 2. So those are, and let me back all the way out of here so you can see Box Elder County. That's again, currently they're naming 7 sex offenders. This map, which I'm sure is like 30 days, it's got 5 of them. Am I happy with that? Do I think that's great? No, I don't think that's great at all. But I mean, I wish there wasn't any. I wish there was 0, correct? I hope y'all can see this. Yeah, you can. I wish there were none. I wish there were no sex offenders anywhere. But it's not 83 people. I'm not, please don't get me wrong. Please don't misstate what I'm saying. It's a bad thing. 7 is bad. 3 is bad. I'm not saying it's good at all. But it's not half, right? I believe it is 83. to 1. So for every 1 sex offender in this county, there are 83 people that are not sex offenders. Total area of I don't want to end this. Okay, so if we look at Box Elder, there are basically 240. This isn't Montello. This is the county. Montello is the town, but we're going to look at it. There's only 50 people in the town. Now I'm going to talk about the county itself. 247 men and 223 women. The median age is 27, which is in line with the median age for the whole state of Utah. Utah's a very young state. And the estimated income, median income is $39,651, whereas it's about half of what the total state average is. State average is about $76,000, so it's about half. The median house, the middle value of housing is $165,000. Again, it's half of what the state average is. State average is $330,000. And remember, state average would include Salt Lake City. And the cost of living index is about 87, meaning it's cheaper to live there than a lot of other places. People are primarily Caucasian, and of course, yes, mostly Mormon or Protestant. If they don't identify as a Mormon, then they call themselves Protestant. I got a lot of pages up here. Hold on, just hang on with me. Now, here's where I think that things went wrong with this whole Montello is a cesspool of sexual deviancy. Hold on, I'm going to show you. Now, don't get me wrong. Even 1 sex offender is one too many, okay, 100%. But here's where I think things got wonky with this idea that you got 170 total population, 80 something of them are registered sex offenders. And I thought, oh, that is not something that's going to happen by chance, which means there has to be an orchestrated effort to bring all those sex offenders to one place. And why would that be? Like, what would be the point of that? So I thought it was weird. So I got to looking, trying to figure it out. Well, this might be it. This might be the problem. So on this citydata.com page, and it is consistent with a couple of other pages that give these types of statistics. The title of this is Montello, Nevada ratio of number of residents to the number of sex offenders compared to nearest cities. Montello is 84 to 1, meaning for every 1 sex offender, there are 84 people that are not registered sex offenders. Not that there's 84 sex offenders to 1 person there. So if you compare Montello to these other nearby towns, I mean, even looking at Elko, Montello's kind of high, but not half. It's not at 2 to 1. It's at 84 to 1. Elko's 285 to 1, meaning for every 1 sex offender, there's 285 non-sex offenders. Make sense? So the smaller your ratio gets, the more sex offenders you have. What it would mean if there were 170 people and 70, 80 of them were registered sex offenders, your ratio would be 2 to 1. That would be your, and we're not even close to 2 to 1. It's 84 to 1. I don't know if this number 84 was taken to mean that there were 84 sex offenders there. And then they went and looked at the total population and saw 170, and they just kind of made that leap. I don't know. But this is being presented as a ratio, and it's not, the chart is not done very well. It is very misleading. But what they're trying to tell you is it's an 84 to 1 ratio. So for every one person that is a sex offender, there are 84 people that are not a sex offender. You have this guy, Frank. Sorry, Frank. He's a tier 2 possession of child pornography. That's kind of gross, right? So there's some bad guys there. We're not saying there's not bad guys there. There's some bad guys there, but I don't think it's like 2 to 1 that they're sex offenders. Sex offenders are everywhere. Have you ever looked up your own neighborhood? It's kind of sobering. It can make you feel a little uncomfortable, right? Okay. So it's a bad place. You don't want 84 to 1. You want, completely whatever your population is. Like if you live in a town of 5,000, you want it to be like 5,001 to 1, meaning no, we got 5,000 citizens. We don't have a single sex offender. That's what you really want to deal with. So it is, it just is what it is. It's kind of high, but it's not every other person walking the street is a sex offender. JT said sex offenders and hardened criminals. I was under the impression I thought that he said those were the registered sex offenders. Am I wrong? I'm totally willing to own it if I'm saying that incorrectly. I really thought he said registered sex offenders, and that did not count the people that were, coming out of prison and they were armed robbery, and that those were additional people. Did I misunderstand him? Maybe. Not kind of gross, totally disgusting and gross. Leave little children alone. Thank you, Lolo. I totally agree. Hey, David Vogel. He said RSO and hardened criminals. Okay. That math doesn't work with a town that small. Ooh. Yeah, well, sometimes they do use extrapolation when they're doing statistics for to improve conceptualization of what you're talking about. So I don't know if that addresses what you're saying, but it could be that they were extrapolating the numbers depending on which website you're using. But let me ask you a question. If you were a person that had essentially failed in being a part of society, whether you had a drug problem, whether you had an alcohol problem, whether you had a pornography problem, whatever it was, if you were a person that had failed somehow to assimilate into society and be a successful contributing member of society, is it possible that you might go in search of a place where there wasn't a lot of people? Would you want to be in a place where there wouldn't be a lot of highly judgmental people that might seek you out and try to alienate you and push you away from their family? Of course. And the fact that there's very little law enforcement, it is optimal. And I think Jim Terry said that, that there's not much, there's not many police around either. everyone he has named have records? Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Um, let's bring up the criminals list. Let's see. I'm just kind of looking through your comments for a second, see if there's a question here. Okay. All right. So I'm not sure. I I live I live in a great place, but our crime is something's wrong. Like something is so wrong in Houston, Texas, in terms of the amount of crime that's happening. And a lot of it is just sort of random, well, very random. Like we've got that somebody is riding up and down Highway 45 in the wee hours of the morning when the hospital staff are switching. You've got nurses and doctors that are doing shift work, and they're getting shot. Someone's driving around shooting people. They don't even know they're shooting them in the middle of the night. So we've got some crazy things are exploding in terms of crime. I mean, just look at the number of school shootings that we've started having in 2022. It's terrifying. So do I think there's any place that's completely safe? Unless you're capable of a house in a gated neighborhood that's got private security, I think we're running the risk in today's world. We're going to cross paths with people that are dangerous. Here's another problem. And this speaks to more of me kind of siding with Jim Terry. And that is, if you don't have many people live in a place and half of those people have had crimes committed against them or their property, then it doesn't matter if it was only 4, it's still half the people, which is scary. So, that's good that, or not good that Jim Terry is drawing out the idea that there's a lot of crime in that area. It just, when I started looking into it, it just didn't. And again, I looked only at registered sex offenders. I thought that's what he said. I thought that he was speaking about registered sex offenders, and he added in with, I thought that he said that the 80 something to 170, I thought that was the sex offenders, and that he was saying that they took this 17-year-old boy and threw him out there in an area that is just sort of this cauldron of obscenity and people that were just out of control and consumers of human beings. I thought that he meant that number was the number of people that were offending sexually, and that it was questionable why the grandparents would send him out there. And then there was also the question of why would they buy a 600 acre farm for this 17-year-old? Why not a 300 acre? Why not a 50 acre? Why did this young man need a full 600 acres? I don't know. I don't have anything to say to that particular point, other than to say they talk a lot about how that was going to be his future. I don't know. If if Dylan's grandfather believed that Dylan had discovered, or that his FFA chapter had figured out a way to take the sandy desert out there in Box Elder, to take that sandy ground with the limited water supply and turn that into a cash crop. They're not growing oranges. They're growing commodity weed or whatever. Then maybe the grandfather said, hey, we could make him a successful farmer. We could, if he knows how to do this, we can buy the 600 acres at nothing, and then he can prove to the world that yes, you can farm on this land, and then people will come in and they'll want to buy that same 600 acres at a dramatically increased price. I don't know if that's what they were planning, but just kind of going through all the articles, listening to the things that have been said, that's kind of what I think. One thing that Jim Terry takes issue with, I mean, he states it. One thing that he takes issue with is this idea that Dylan was a high school dropout, that he was a freshman, he had dropped out of high school, he doesn't have a GED, undereducated, basically. It was coinciding with the time of COVID, and the majority of school systems had gone to virtual instruction. As far as I can tell, you got to have internet before you can do virtual instruction. And he didn't have internet out there on the farm, right? So why did the family approve him not to be in school? Legitimate question that I don't think has been answered by Candice or anybody else that's associated with the family. It is a legitimate question. In this country, legally, kids are supposed to be getting educated. Were there alternative plans for his education? Perhaps. I don't know. But he had been out there for quite a while. I mean, he had seed in the ground. So when was he supposed to get educated? If not, like how if he's got seed in the ground, he's going to be getting a harvest. When was that time going to present itself? So that is another legitimate question. I think it warrants some level of discussion. I wonder why J.D. Wild, I wonder why he is the first one to know that Dylan is missing. That is a question I literally don't know the answer to. Is there anyone in the chat that knows? Hey, Rochelle, I haven't seen you in a while. Yeah, pivot farm for hybrid wheat. Yes. There's also no workforce there to sustain a 600-acre farm. Excellent point, David. Yeah, absolutely. So hey, true to me, thank you. You are a sweetheart. Everybody, hashtag thank you, True. Appreciate it. So, oh gosh, are there wild pigs out there, David? Why? I don't know that land could sustain a wild hog, can it? I would be surprised to know there were wild pigs out there. We're not talking about cute little pink pigs, y'all. These hogs are frightening animals. Oh, Kurt had the pigs. Not wild. Okay. David, so how far away is Kurt's farm from where Dylan was? No notifications. Man, so sorry, Kathy. The only thing I know to do is to hit unsubscribe, wait for 5 minutes, hit subscribe, and then be sure to hit the bell that says receive all notifications. That's supposed to do the trick. We don't know. Too large pig. Okay, well, horrible to think about, isn't it? Awful. Terrible to think about. Okay. Now, I am curious why that airfield hasn't come up in conversation in all of these videos on YouTube. All of these people that are looking into this information. You've got military nearby where they've got live fire games going on. Why has nobody brought up that airport? You know, that would matter. That you have nothing there. There's really nothing close by. You've got to drive more than an hour to get to Salt Lake City. Why is this airport out there? What are those people doing out there? There are no crops essentially for crop dusting requirements. What's the point of that airport? And it is the runways are being maintained. So that's curious. The other question that I have that I don't think has been answered is how did it come to pass that JD Wild was the one that knew that Dylan was missing? Why did that fall on JD's shoulders? That's a question that I have. David, that's hard. I know they're killer dangerous. Y'all are so nice. Thank you. Kurt states that they won't find him in the mountains or mines or out in the desert. So Kurt has stated outright, no worries here. You are not going to find Dylan Rounds. Is that accurate? I get a little nervous when people get that definitive about a statement. You know what I mean? Because it gives you the impression that they have some level of knowledge that maybe they're not supposed to have. They don't eat the teeth. Ugh. I don't know why they wouldn't eat the teeth if they're eating all the bones, right? Well, and that is my point, Kathy R. So Kathy says perhaps drug running is the purpose of the airport. Maybe they're running drugs legitimately. That's the question that I have. And there are people in this overall story that do actually have some verified connections to drug dealing. So I was around in Arkansas during the whole Mena, Arkansas airplane railroad track period of time. The people, I was a very young kid. I wasn't, 20 years old. I was a very young kid, but I can remember my grandparents talking to people like this, one of their friends, guy across the street, he worked at the railroad. There were a lot of people associated with the newspaper that already felt like they knew what was happening at the Mena airport. Plenty of the locals had seen these flights coming in the middle of the night. And so even though the cops might have been doing anything, even though maybe it wasn't showing up in the courtroom, citizens knew, like they were aware, they were talking about it at length. So when, so in this particular case, I remain very interested in the airport that's in this ghost town. And I think I would be very interested to know what Jim Terry could find out about the airport. I think that might be a very good second step for him. He's already uncovered a great deal of information about Chase Venstra and Kurt Wadsworth and Troy Wadsworth and the lifestyle issues and whatnot. But wouldn't it be interesting if Jim Terry could look into the whole airport thing and bring some new content into the conversation? So if you would be interested for Jim Terry to find information about the airport and the people that are seen at the airport fairly often, if you think that would be some interesting conversation, put a 1. Just curious. I know drug runners, they're sneaky and dangerous people. They're also quite creative. There you go, Alma. I hope you're feeling better, Alma. Hey, Allie, if I recall, they did discuss this man who owned the plane airport early on, immigrant, correctly. Yeah, no, we did talk about it in our channel. That was actually, I think, like one of my first videos that I did on Dylan Rounds was to talk about the Czechoslovakian fella that escaped from behind the Iron Curtain under cover of dark, who had some very curious connections to people in California. He was able to go set up a manufacturing. He got a patent. He started manufacturing of this propeller that he invented himself. And then ultimately he took his fortune to purchase an international airport in a ghost town. That is a story. There is something very strange about the little Czechoslovakian guy out in the middle of the desert. Hi, Emma Roth. Welcome. Hey, Beverly. Good to see you. Sundown Farms. Welcome. Fancy Nancy. Me's her mom. All right. Okay, so some people, so a lot of people think that would be an interesting topic. Not to pick on the guy. I don't mean to target the guy that owns it, but to get information. What are they doing out there? What kind of flights are they receiving? Where do they come from? Are they regular flights? What time of day do the flights come in? All of this would be very interesting. Has anyone in chat heard about the Brandon Lawson missing case? He made a 911 call. He spoke so fast you could barely understand him. The operator heard gunshots, and Brandon has been missing ever since. How long ago was that, Lolo? Is that a recent case? So Charlie Faye thinks that would actually be a really good bit of information to uncover. I've held 2 kilos of drugs in my hands, and I was terrified. I can't imagine the terror to handle more. Sounds drug related. Oh, yeah, it is. I'm not saying that the airport is a nefarious bad thing. I'm just saying it's a curiosity. And the disappearance of Dylan Rounds is a curiosity. And it sure seems like to me, it might be a good idea to get a little bit of information about it. You don't know what the connections are. They don't know what happened to Dylan. And that means everything is still on the table, in my opinion. It was about 8 years ago. Is this the kid in Oklahoma? Was that in Oklahoma where he ran out into the pasture and was hiding in the grass? Is that the same guy? Had a girlfriend. They were involved with the sheriff who was really shady, drug dealing sheriff. Okay. All right. So that's my request. To learn more about something was breaking news. They found his remains. They found Dylan Round's remains? Yes. I gotta look. Hold on. No, they haven't found him. I think y'all are having a separate conversation than I am. Oh, y'all are talking about Brandon Lawson. Okay, sorry. Okay, I was going, what? How did I miss that? Okay. Um yeah. So I think it would be very interesting to know a little bit more about the airport. That is of interest to me. And maybe I'll see what I can find out. Because to me, that's just, it's something no one's talking about. It's very unusual in a lot of ways. And you never know. You never know what these connections, are. There has been this focus. Here's my problem. Okay. There has been this focus. Uh, there has been this focus that this disappearance of Dylan is the result of some sort of nefarious kind of romantic or physical relationship. And that has sort of driven at least the online narrative, the YouTube commentary has sort of been steered by that idea. There are a lot of other reasons. I don't care if he's heterosexual or not. That could actually derail an avenue of exploration that matters. In addition, not only to the number of criminals, sex offenders, whatnot, drugs, right? I mean, everybody's in agreement that that area has lots of drug, methamphetamine manufacturing, to name one thing. If that airport is getting these kind of shady flights coming in and out in the middle of the night, that would add to the idea that perhaps there was some drugs, a appreciable amount of drug shipments were being moved through that area, and that maybe Dylan being there on his 600 acres, maybe that's something that the drug dealers did not want. Maybe they didn't want to deal with a young guy turning the land into valuable land that could then be marketed as farmland, because what happens to their shipping operation if that is in fact what the airport was being used for? So again, it's just a brainstorming kind of idea. What more could there be? What else had they not looked into? Right? You may have upstanding, well accepted families being made rich on the drug trade. It wouldn't be a crazy thing to happen. It's happened before. I hear that it actually supported a whole presidential election, but what do I know? Okay. So it just would be something interesting to learn more about, and that would be the airport and kind of what goes on there, kind of thing. All right. Now then, I don't think I was going to do a little bit on Amber Heard. They have So you know how Amber, no, I don't want to talk about Amber. I'll do Amber on my video tonight. let me go to, I have one more topic and then we'll be done today. Oh, and I'd like to know about the airport. I'd like to know why it is that JD Wild, uh, Dylan Round's best friend, why is it that he knew that Dylan was missing and he's the one that called Candice? That is something I would be very interested to know about. All right. So all of that is finished. We did this, I believe. Dylan Round's shoes were found just an hour and a half after they showed up and started looking. There were traces of blood. It was sent off. They've covered more than 3,000 miles in their search. FBI continues to be involved. Jim Brenner, 59 years old, he is being officially named as a suspect. And Dylan is 19 years old. Okay, so we covered all of that information. And then I wanted to play this. This is extraordinary. Extraordinary to see this kind of silliness. All right, this is related to, I should have had a light on me today. I hate it when I do these without the ring light. Okay, so this is a clip from the Alex Jones case, and this happened last Wednesday. Now, it's not going to become as a surprise to you that the prosecutor and Alex Jones defense attorneys, well, they don't like each other at all. In fact, it's been pretty drama stuff. It's amazing to me that no other YouTube channels are talking about this because it is drama. I mean, they are going at it with each other, not just Alex Jones and Owen Schroyer being all, drama llama, mamas, but even the attorneys are getting in on the act and misbehaving. So let's look at what kind of misbehaving they got going on. It's so funny. You don't ever see this in a court of law. It's like Scott Rice said, even though you're adversaries, you're in there fighting against each other, you still have decorum. You still show dignity. You still treat officers of the court with respect, right? That's what our guy Scott Rice says. Well, watch this. It's hilarious.
Will you talk to me? And Nina, will you talk to me? Will you talk to me? Will you talk to me?
Did you see it? Okay, so this guy with the beard, that is the plaintiff. That's the guy, Jesse Lewis' parents, the little boy that was killed at Sandy Hook. His parents have sued Alex Jones for defamation of character because the InfoWars channel said or pushed the narrative that the parents of Sandy Hook were crisis actors, that the kids didn't get hurt or didn't die, and that it was all a government false flag, right? And so what they said specifically about Jesse Lewis's parents, they have sued Alex Jones and they have won. And what is going on now is that they are deciding on the penalty. Jesse Lewis's parents have asked for $150 million. And so the award could be anywhere between $1 and $150 million. And so the guy with the beard, right there in the pink tie, he's the prosecutor. He works for Jesse Lewis's parents. And the guy that he's talking to right now, that is the lead attorney for Alex Jones. So listen to what the guy says. I mean, it's pretty, this is some yammy.
Will you talk to me?
He's so polite, right? He's like, hey, would you talk to me? Like, let's just talk and let's just do what Scott Reich tells us to do and treat each other with respect and work out a solution. Now, I want you to look at the guy back behind him. You see the look of skepticism on his face? He's I don't know. I don't think he wants to talk to you. He doesn't look like he wants to talk to you. And then this guy here in the dark beard and dark hair, he's not having any of the nonsense. He's tired of it. He's mad. Okay, so the blonde guy says, "Hey, would you just talk to me?" And here we go.
And will you talk to me? Will you talk to me? Will you talk to me?
He says, "How about some brutal honesty?" And now he's grinning. You see the crinkles at the side of his eyes. He says, yeah, how about some brutal honesty? Now, the prosecutor is sort of going, oh, okay. Well, he's sort of smiling, but a little bit, not sure whether to believe it or not. And so he's like, yeah, some brutal honesty would be just fine. Now, watch his hand.
You said not always. You said to me, are all your videos on the summary exhibit?
He flipped him off in the courtroom with the cameras rolling. I wonder what Scott Reich would have to say about that. Let's watch it one more time. I'm not going to interrupt.
Will you talk to me? And will you talk to me? Will you talk to me? Will you talk to me? You said not always. You said to me, are all your videos on the summary exhibit? And we're agreeing to all this. Hey guys, maybe now's not the time. Maybe we can cool off and I'm gonna have a phone call later.
Okay, so the guy that has just had enough of the whole thing, he's just like, hey guys, let's just all cool down. Let's take a deep breath. Let's have a little time out from one another. We can work this through. We'll just talk about it later. Everything will be okay. He's had enough. They've all had enough. And no one on YouTube is covering this. It's crazy. The behavior's crazy.
Anything you're going to say? No. I'm just. That way you can fill in, and then we not have a fight, and it'll be. Mark, do you have his phone number? I don't have. We're having a fight right now. Write your phone number down so we can get it. We'll call you after everybody cools down a little bit on both sides. Exactly, which is why I tried to get you both. No, you can give me your phone number, Federico. I don't want to talk to you anymore right now. Give me your phone number. Write it down and we'll give you. I'll text it to you. You have my phone number? I'll email it to you. That'll work. All right.
And that is Alex Jones, right? Nobody's covering it. I don't know why. Maybe. Well, okay, so I will tell you this. We did one day of it, right? We did one day. I didn't come out pro or con for Alex Jones or InfoWars. I'm just discussing the courtroom situation as I would like I did with Jodi Arias or any other, trial, Halderson, and lost 20 subscribers. I lost 20 subscribers. Is it because people said, oh, you're playing Alex Jones. How dare you? Don't you know we canceled him? I don't know why, but I did. So I'm sorry. I wish I didn't. I wish that we could talk about it because it's entertaining. I mean, they're really mad at each other. And the judge is so fun. The judge is like, excuse me, do you have gum in your mouth? Everybody, stop what you're doing. 1 minute. Excuse me, Alex, is there gum in your mouth? Because I don't accept gum. I am a no gum judge. You shouldn't have. You clearly did not read the sign that was on the courtroom doors. No gum in my courtroom. This is my courtroom. That is my judge. I don't like gum. Don't you ever come in here again chewing gum. You think I'm kidding? I'm not. So it's a pretty crazy. It's fun to watch. It's drama. Don't we love drama? If you love drama, put a 1. If you don't like crumma, if you like everything to be all nice and adult and mature, put a 2. I bet we get all ones. What do you want to bet? Hi, grass friend. Ooh la la. Ooh la la. Welcome. Okay. So, yeah. See, look at all these people. Look at all these people that are saying, we like a little bit of crumma with our coffee. Okay. Who knows why people unsub to based off the topics we cover? I don't know. Burden of proof. They do. It's a way of getting putting your point across, what you approve of, what you don't approve of. Clearly, the majority of people do not approve of the Alex Jones trial. I don't really understand, though. Let me ask y'all this. He's found guilty. He's guilty. He did it. He hurt this grieving family. Now he has to pay a lot of money. Not a little bit, a lot. They're asking for $150 million. Who believes this jury, her jury, the judge's jury, who believes they're going to award $150 million to this family? If you think they will do 150 big ones, put a 1. If you think they'll give a judgment somewhere between $1 and 150 million, give a 2. If you think they're going to award $1, put a 3. And I'm going to put usually I don't put my number in. Today, I'm putting my number in. This is what I think. Boom. They're going all the way. They're going to give them the whole enchilada, the full kit and caboodle. Mark my words. Hey, Judy Burgess, how are you? So Judy and Meeser, Kathy, Donna Burns thinks it'll be somewhere in between the 150 and the $1. I don't see anybody putting a 3. I don't see anybody putting $1. I just cannot believe, not for a minute do I believe that they will give $1 to the grieving family of Jesse Lewis. They won't do that. No. And I'm gonna go with burden of proof. It's gonna be the whole enchilada, 150 big ones. Heading out to dinner with the fam. Well, Allie, I hope you have something yummy tonight. If there is pie, let me just tell you this. If there's pie with meringue, eat a piece for me. Just say, oh, I got to bring a piece to Jules. Anything with meringue. All right. Thomas Tier says, yup. Okay. Yeah, have a good time, Allie. All right. So thank you guys so much. So we have some goals here, don't we? Like this live ended up really revealing a few important points. Number 1, we want someone in all of these cool YouTube channels and great YouTube creators, we want someone to say, why was JD Wild, Dylan's best friend, why was he aware that Dylan was missing before the mother knew? How did that come about? I'm not saying it's nefarious. I just don't know the answer to it. So that's number 1. The second thing that came out of this live is that we, the people, we want to know about the airport. We're thinking Mena, Arkansas, except this time it's Box Elder or Lawson, Utah. So we'd like to know about the airport. What's flying in and out of there? What time are the flights? Do they seem to be legit on the up and up? Do people store their airplanes there? Where are these planes coming from? Why is it called the International Airport? We have questions. We have questions here on Allegedly Innocent, right? Hey, Baz. They all want to shut Alex and InfoWars down big time. The courts, the politicians, and the establishment. You could be correct, Boz. I think people are terrified at the prospect of Donald Trump running for president a third time. I don't think they want a replay of that, and I think that is a big driving force behind all of these investigations. I mean, let's face it, we've had plenty of politicians that are not exactly law abiding citizens. Can we be fair? I mean, even in the UK. So, but I do think they're terrified he's going to run again, and they don't want to deal with it. And nobody wants to deal with Donald Trump. Not the Democrats, not the Republicans. No one wants to deal with Donald Trump. And it's only my opinion. I don't have any kind of special insider knowledge. I just think that could be what's driving all of this. It could just be fear. They don't want to deal with him. So, all right. I thought Celeste, welcome. I am doing very well. How are you doing? I was thinking about you the other day, and I was wondering, I haven't seen Celeste in a while. So I hope everything's going well. I think Alex Jones' freedom of speech is important. He has been shortchanged. Look, in a lot of ways, I think about Alex Jones. This is going to kind of be funny for me to say this. I think about Alex Jones in the same way that I think about Marilyn Manson. I know you're going, what? What? Jules, are you crazy, woman? How do you make a connection between Alex Jones and Marilyn Manson? Well, here's how. Okay, Johnny Depp was this beloved creature. Like his whether it's natural or whether it was a cultivated image, he has this little boyish smile. He speaks with great respect and poetic type of nuance, and he's gentle. Like when he talks, his mannerisms, he's a gentle guy. It was easy, especially after listening to the recordings of Amber Heard. It was easy to accept and believe that Amber was abusive toward Depp. If Johnny Depp had come across as this really, pumped up kind of toxically masculine, aggressive kind of guy, it might not have been quite so easy to accept that he was abused, that she was abusing him. But because of that persona, whether it's natural, people claim that that's really who he is. But whether it's natural or whether it was cultivated as a public persona, it was effective. It helped him in the end. Marilyn Manson has this problem. He's got a big lawsuit that's coming up with Evan Rachel Wood. And she's trying to do the same thing that Amber Heard said, basically. And that was, he's a horrible guy and he raped me and he did all these horrible things to me and he should be held accountable. He's hurt all these other women. Marilyn Manson's problem, as compared to Johnny Depp, is that he cultivated a public persona that basically scares the hell out of everybody. He's a really dark and scary kind of guy. You wouldn't want your daughter going on a date with this guy. But it was cultivated on purpose, I believe. I believe it was part of the packaging. That was his brand, to sell and to market this music to basically anarchists, kids that were kind of on the outside of accepted, teen society, and it was an outlet and it gave them identity and they pulled together. The problem is that particular identity, it might be attractive in high school if you're not particularly popular or whatever, but it's not going to help you in a court of law where people are saying, hey, you did this really psychopathic, antisocial thing to me. You harmed me. You violated my body, because that's what he's marketed himself as. He's been telling the world this is who he is as he's made multiple millions, of dollars. So that's his problem. He cultivated that image. So what was the connection to Alex Jones that I made between Alex Jones and Marilyn Manson? Well, it's that idea that Alex Jones cultivated this image of a crazy man. He wanted people talking about him. And so he used his audacious displays to get people to talk about him, right? I mean, he acted crazy on his channel. He did bizarre things in his kingdom. People liked it, people watched him, but it's not going to serve him well in a court of law. He's made himself look insane. Let me see if I had a few other of these pictures of him being Alex Jones. There's plenty of them. I mean, I tried to pick some that weren't going to make him look quite so crazy, and it wasn't easy to do. So this is a picture of him in his early. Oh, I thought I had uploaded that one. I did. Yeah, so that's him in his younger years. So it's kind of hard to see him now as a much older man. He would admit that he's got problems, right? I mean, he drinks too much, and he likes to eat. You know, he's got some trouble. So it's a little bit hard to. Oh, I thought I had uploaded that, but I didn't. Here's another picture of him just kind of being overwhelmed, probably by his own little temper tantrum that he just threw. Let me see if I could get that other picture of him in the courtroom. And the comparison between his early years and the way he looked last week, it's easy to see he's not healthy. I mean, you can look at the guy and tell he's not healthy. He's had some rather public displays during this trial that were less than optimal. He just seems like a guy that is on the edge, you know, and he's been on the edge for quite some time. But anyway, it's amazing to me that nobody's covering this case, because it's trauma. It's totally trauma going on in the courtroom. He has lost. It's not like somebody is going to cover him on YouTube and be in support of, you know, Alex Jones. But just to watch the shenanigans and watch all the drama happening in the courtroom, it's well worth it. I'm going to continue to do it. So I'm going to take a break. Let me make one more tribute to Dylan, because that was the focus of our video today. So one more view of the reason that we're here. And then I want to do some shameless pandering. You guys are the best community on YouTube. You're the most beautiful subscribers on YouTube. You're the smartest subscribers on YouTube. You know more than any other channel. That's called pandering, in case you haven't noticed it. And now, because you are so beautiful and you're so strong and handsome and attractive and gorgeous and the best community of all people, you're going to want to subscribe to this channel if you had not just subscribed before. And if you have subscribed, I know you're going to be so highly motivated to hit the thumbs up button, just so you can demonstrate just how loyal and faithful and honest and gorgeous and perfect of a YouTube subscriber that you really and truly are. That's called pandering. Did I do good, though? Was that good pandering? Did I build up your spirit? Are you feeling strong and capable? Okay. Please, in all seriousness, all that foolishness aside, I would really be honored if you would subscribe to the channel, especially to try to make up for the 20 people that are not happy with me because I covered some of the Alex Jones trial. Please subscribe. Please hit the thumbs up if you enjoyed this content. And I would particularly like it if you would leave a comment below this video, because I am romancing the algorithm. I am trying to get in bed with the YouTube algorithm, and the only way I can do that is with your help. So even if you just go under this video and put your grocery shopping list, that is going to help me. You will be my wingman for romancing the YouTube algorithm. So any comment that you want to make underneath this video will work. You might want to say, hey, how did JD Wild find out that Dylan was missing? Or you might write underneath this video, hey, Jim Terry, tell us about the airport guy. Or you can just say eggs, milk, cheese. Whatever you decide to say, the algorithm won't care. The algorithm is just counting comments. That's all it's doing. Okay? All right, everybody. I'm Jules of Thought. This is my channel, Allegedly Innocent, and I'm going to take about an hour break. I'll be back, and we will cover more of the Alex Jones defamation case, the penalty phase. Thank y'all so much for being here. I'll see you in just a little.